Hi, I'm Brett Warren, and the more you know about property investment and the mistakes that people make, the greater your chances of success from investing in property. Today, we're talking about diversification, and some people say diversification is paramount, while others may not. I've got Michael Yardney on the line. Michael, how are you going?
Hello, Brett.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on the diversification debate. What's your thoughts?
Well, a lot of investors believe they must diversify. They've heard the media say that, they've heard financial planners say that. They say you can't have all your eggs in one basket. But in my mind, diversification leads to averageness rather than success. Look at what other successful people have done. Bill Gates invested in software for the PC. The late Steve Jobs specialized in Apple computers. Warren Buffett, while he's one of the wealthiest investors in the world, only invests in a small group of shares. I remember way back reading in Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. He wrote it almost a century ago. He said, successful people become experts at something by doing the same thing over and over again, rather than doing 100 things once. So there is some comfort for those who don't know what they're doing in diversification, but that leads to averageness. If you want above average results, you've got to become an expert or work with experts and don't do what everyone else does.
It's a really interesting point, Michael. I think we can obviously go back to the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, who talks about that 10,000 hour rule. And he mentioned a lot of those people that you mentioned there before about how they've refined their trade and specialized and really benefit from that. Do you think that most people feel they need to diversify because they don't have a plan?
Well, I think most people don't have a plan. They've got a plan that's vague in the future. I want to live off my properties, but they're not even sure how. They're not even sure how many they need or what's going on. So having a plan keeps you focused and you'll know what you've got to do. But really interestingly, a couple of weeks ago, I was speaking with Kelly, who one of our team offered a property in the same suburb where we'd recently bought her, well, a couple of years bought her another property. That property has performed so well, gone up in value, the rent has increased despite the challenges of the market in the last couple of years, because there are some areas that are still doing well, that she's got the financial capacity to buy another one. And interestingly, we offered her a property in the same street and she said, no, why would I buy there? I've already got one there. I want to diversify. And my question to her was, how did the first property go? Really, really well. You know what, Michael? It actually gave me the ability to buy another one. So I said, so do you believe that type of property is a good investment? Yeah. Do you think the area, the location is good? Yeah, it's fantastic. It outperforms. So what are you going to do now? Choose a secondary location and go to a different place just so you can diversify. Now, I understand over time, as your property portfolio becomes bigger, it does have some benefit in having different sorts of properties. So I personally have a large portfolio, but I have industrial, commercial, residential. But interestingly, in my residential portfolio, I invest in basically four municipalities. And I've done that on purpose because they're ones that outperform. So rather than diversifying in location, I've got apartments, I've got townhouses, I've got some houses, even though I'm going to pull them down to build townhouses in the future. I've got commercial, industrial. I diversify with having different loan terms. I've got some principal and interest, some interest only. I've got some fixed. I've got some variable loans. And I've got different ownership structures as well. So I have a form of diversification, but when you start off, it's really hard. Property is lumpy, so you can't diversify. And if you can only own two or three properties, own the best you can in the best locations. Don't look for the next hotspot. Just find areas that have outperformed and stay there, Brett.
I think you make a really interesting point there, Michael, particularly around when you're starting out with property. I favoured property when I first started out and specialised in property because of a number of things you could leverage into greater opportunities, but also you could add value to the property too. And that's something you can't do with other assets. So I guess what you're saying, Michael, is rather than diversify, perhaps specialise, become an expert. And obviously you're an expert at what you do, Michael. How do you become an expert?
You can't become an expert by doing 100 things once. So you've got to do the same thing 100 times, as we said before. But the problem, Brett, is for a lot of people, that's boring. They want the next hotspot. They want to do the next thing. No, just do it over and over again. If you're looking for excitement, go bungee jumping, go trail bike riding. You're not going to find that in your property investment. Well, how do you know when you are an expert? And that's when you can get consistently good, above average results. And you get to do that by either knowing your local patch, becoming an expert in that territory, or leverage off other experts, a property strategist and a team of buyers agents who can actually help you with their experience and their perspective, Brett.
Absolutely. And I think that's another interesting point to make. Obviously, hiring people that are specialists rather than trying to do that yourself and getting those good results. Thank you for demystifying the principle that you must diversify. It does make sense to specialize, particularly when you're first starting off, I feel. And again, we alluded on the importance of having a plan and sticking to that plan also. So thank you again for your time, Michael. We'll see you again next time.
My pleasure.